What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to my very first book review video. The first book that I'm going to be reviewing is a book called ReWork, written by Jason Fried and David Hansen. Jason and David are some of the entrepreneurs that I admire the most because of what they've been able to achieve and how they've been able to achieve it. They were the founders of 37 Signals, and 37 Signals was a software development agency company based in Chicago, Illinois in the early 2000s. They did a lot of great work for companies like Panera Bread, among others. And what was interesting about their story is that it's not scalable, right? It's a consultancy, basically. You have to exchange hours for dollars in that kind of a model. But what they started noticing and as they started growing and getting more clients is that a lot of the project management software that existed in the marketplace kind of sucked and it wasn't fitting their needs. So they decided, hey, we know how to build stuff. Let's build our own project management software system and use that instead. It ended up being so successful that clients themselves, as they were brought onto the project management system so they could stay on top of deadlines, assets, deliverables, etc., fell in love with the product and were like, yo, where can we get this too? So then a light bulb went off in Jason and David's head when they were like, you know, if it works so well and people are starting to ask us where they can buy it, it might be worthwhile to explore selling this in addition to the web development agency work that we were doing. And they actually ended up building a product. Long story short, started selling it, started making more money through selling that product. So they decided to shut down their web development agency operation. They didn't take any external funding. Their first thought wasn't, hey, you know, let's go and invest, let's go and raise some money, let's go and talk to some investors. They did this completely bootstrapped. And to this day, according to Google, they only employ about 57 employees. This is a company that's been around a lot longer than any of these startups. They didn't have that explosive growth that you see so many startup investors and entrepreneurs alike shooting for these days. They went slowly, took their time, and that was how they were able to grow into the company that they have today. I don't know, I could talk about how much I admire these guys all day long, but let's jump into the insights that I took out from reading this book. Insight number one is everything you think you know is wrong. The book makes a claim that the way that everyone's looking at entrepreneurship today is wrong. You don't need to focus on scaling quickly. You don't need to focus on raising money fast as the first priority. You don't need to focus on, you know, how big your company is or everything like that, or that you need this big elaborate business plan all fleshed out and you need to know exactly what it is that you're doing. You need to focus on being small, because what being small affords you to be able to do is to be very nimble. So you can adjust quickly. And sometimes when you overplan things, if you try to like elaborate this long business plan, detailed business plan, it starts to intimidate you at how intricate and complex that process looks like versus just sitting down and thinking about, okay, what do I need to do today, week one, month one, to get started and hit some milestones. The second insight that I got from the book is that you can start a business today. Everything that you need to get started exists online. And I'm a big testament to this because, as I'll talk about in other videos, I've got this web consultancy, but I also have other businesses that I own and run as well, and nobody taught me how to really do these things. A lot of the information that you need in order to get started is on Google, Reddit, Quora, YouTube, and developing the skill of how to research these online resources is really important if you're entrepreneurial and you want to get started, because everything is on there and now you have access to literally anyone. So if you want a subject matter expert's opinion, or if you want to potentially partner up with someone, they're only a tweet, LinkedIn message, Facebook message away from being able to like see what you have to offer. The third insight that I took from this book was to learn from your success and repeat what works instead of focusing on your failures. Lots of times people talk about failures and how you need to learn from them, and like failure is a really good thing, and we've glorified failure. But if you're a real entrepreneur, and I mean, I don't have like millions of dollars to boast, but I've developed a lifestyle that I'm proud of having, and you realize that failure sucks. It takes a big toll on your psyche, and I think one of the biggest things about being an entrepreneur is managing your own psyche so that you don't psych yourself out and you don't feel like crap when things don't go your way. And so one of the insights, I love this insight because lots of times we focus on our failures and how do we prevent them from happening again. Instead, we should prioritize focusing on our successes. How did they happen? Why did they happen? And how can we sort of replicate that in other parts of our business or add fuel to the fire and just make that success grow? The fourth lesson that I really enjoyed was to sell your byproducts. The example the book gave us was how lumber factories back in the day would have a lot of waste, right? From processing all the different lumber and the types of wood planks that they needed to produce. They had a lot of sawdust and wood chips. And at first they didn't really know what to do with them. So they just tossed them away. eventually they figured out, you know, we could start selling these into, you know, becoming other products themselves. And so all of that sawdust was eventually sold into concrete mix, and all of those wood chips would eventually become mulch. And a lot of people are, you know, now using mulch in their homes and for other different types of purposes, like in parks, and they were able to monetize a byproduct of their work. And so that's really easy to see in a scenario like lumber, because you can actually physically see the byproduct, right? Like it's there, it's hard to ignore. It's a lot more difficult for entrepreneurs to see the byproducts that they do. But examples that immediately come to mind are if you like to cook, right? If you enjoy cooking, people are always gushing about how good your meals are and everything. There's nothing stopping you from basically grabbing a camera, recording the process of how you're doing your recipes, why you're following instructions the way you're following them, and why you're doing things a certain way. People are always afraid of giving out their secrets, but chefs is a great example of someone who have been doing it for years. Like chefs have their own TV shows where they're like literally giving you how they cook, why they cook, the science behind they cook, the art behind why they cook that way. They have them in recipe books, they have them in YouTube channels, TV channels, they have documentaries on them. They're basically an open book to you. And they're not worried about another chef stealing their ideas or anything, because they know that the world's a big enough place for them to capture some kind of a market and have them be that authority in that market. And so that can be said about anything. Are you a craftsy person? Do you have an Etsy store? Well, don't just sell the products, but also create YouTube videos about how you're making the products. Those YouTube videos are going to be uploaded and they're going to be on the platform for several months or years, as long as that, you know, type of activity is relevant to people. And every year there's new waves of freshmen entering every single niche, and they're going to be interested in learning from you. So sell your byproducts. So there's obviously a crap load of more insights than that from the book. And the great thing about the book is that it's a really easy read. It's in like these short blog style type of chapters, you know, 2 to 3 pages long with images. It's not a long book at all. So if you're looking for something that's sort of a little bit denser and has a longer thought to it, this might not be the book for you. But if you prefer something quick to read, or you can knock out in a couple of days, the lessons here are simple, but they're really revolutionary in the way that they're presented. And it just, I don't know, it turns on a switch in your head and it gets you excited about wanting to start something. So that's my take on the book. I really enjoyed it. I bought it years ago and I continuously like reread it from time to time, because it's just that powerful. And so many times when you're on your entrepreneurial journey, you forget about these things, because it's honestly the highest highs and the lowest lows. If you want to buy the book yourself, I'll leave a link in the description box below. And if you've read it, or after you read it, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are some things that stood out to you? If you have an idea for a book that you'd like me to review, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll see if I've read it or not, or maybe I'll get my hands on it and I'll do a review on it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.